we're going to do the most difficult passage of the set. When you do the most difficult passage of the set, remember, some students don't attempt it at all. They say, no, it's taking me too much time. They do the if that's the last passage of the set, even if it's the second passage of the set or the first passage of the set that you find very difficult, you'll say, I'll do it later. My experience is later in the last stages of CAT never works. The last 5-7 minutes in the exam, you get into a panic mode for any section. That time your brain cannot process a difficult reading comprehension passage. So my experience, and it may not work for you, it works for me. When I come across a difficult passage, I read it quickly and I process only the information that I can process. If there are sentences that I don't understand, I just read it, move on. 3.5 minutes I read the passage and I go to the question and I see, can I attempt it from the passage? Okay, second paragraph he said something, let me answer it. So I spend the same amount of time as an easy or a moderate passage, answer at least 2 questions. And believe me, when the passage is difficult, 2 to 3 questions will be easy. And then move on to para jumbles, para summaries, and odd one out para completion. Because there in the theta questions, even when you know I've got only 1 minute, you can guess. You don't lose any points. That would be my strategy. But as I said, individuals, you have different approaches. If it doesn't work for you and you don't understand anything, I can't do it, I might as well do 3 passages and do the rest. It only affects your chances of getting a very high percentile. So at least 2 out of 4 questions you can answer. They generally are easy. Let's look at this passage as a case in point. All right. Let's first summarize the passage before we move on to the questions. All right. Notwithstanding, so this has been taken from the middle of an excerpt. The excerpt has been taken from the middle of an article. It's the most recent postmodern form of feminism, as Teresa Ebert calls it, lucid feminism. So he's saying that this is a new form of feminism called lucid feminism, and it's the most modern form of feminism that may bring reconciliation to radical feminism and Marxism. From this, in your head, immediately you'll say, okay, he's talking of 2 kinds of feminism. One is lucid feminism and one is radical feminism. And he says this lucid feminism is going to bring a reconciliation between radical and Marxism. It's probably going to be in the middle and try to bring these 2 together or find commonalities, something like that. All right. Though unknowingly, the importance of materialism for feminism. Okay, now this is a concept. Materialism was the historical materialism. Materialism was a concept given by Marx to show about how societies developed through working class, giving its labor, capitalists, exploiting the labor of the working class. You don't need to understand if you don't have any previous knowledge of this. He just says that this lucid feminism is going to bring a reconciliation between radical feminism and Marxism by showing the importance of materialism for feminism in general. Clear? Understood? That's all you need to understand. Let's move on. Influenced by Derrida, Foucault, Butler, lucid feminism. Now, first paragraph is going to tell us what is lucid feminism. Lucid feminism challenges the idea of emancipation, liberation, freeing somebody. Why does it challenge the idea of emancipation? We think of feminism as emancipation of women, right? So he says it challenges this idea of emancipation. How? By arguing that power is a multiplicity of force relations immanent in the sphere in which they operate and which constitutes their own organization. Remember, immanent means inherent, inborn, something which is already in you. He says that power is a multiplicity of force relations. Okay, and so it is there in different structures, different organizations, and so it's a combination of different forces and structures. Such diffused nature of power So power, according to lucid feminism, has a diffused nature because it's a combination of different forces. It has a diffused nature. Diffused means spread everywhere. It's not concentrated at one point. Such diffused nature of power dispenses with the need for organized revolution to overthrow the dominant locus of power, making the idea of resistance redundant, and poses a substantial challenge to the Marxist concept of class as well as to the idea of patriarchal oppression of the body. Now, let's understand what this means. Okay, he says, lucid feminism, radical feminism. Lucid feminism is going to bring a reconciliation between Marxism and radical feminism. Clear? He talks of two forms of feminism and he talks of Marxism. He says that lucid feminism will bring a reconciliation. How? By showing that the materialism theory of Marxism is useful for feminism as well. That is the first paragraph. Then he explains what is lucid feminism, or tells us a little more about lucid feminism. It challenges the idea of emancipation. He says the so-called emancipation idea is wrong. He challenges it. How? By saying power is diffused. So there is no point, or no need for overthrowing revolution by attacking centers of power. There is no focus center of power. Power has a very diffuse nature. So revolution against a center of power is redundant, is unnecessary, and therefore it poses a substantial challenge to the Marxist concept of class as well as the idea of patriarchal oppression of the body. So it says it's against emancipation. It says power is not at one point, it is diffused. By doing this, it challenges the concept of revolution, challenges the concept of class, and challenges the conception of patriarchal oppression of the body. Now, you don't understand what it means. Just remember, patriarchal basically means dominating. Male domination is called patriarchal. If you don't understand it, I hope you do. It doesn't really matter. We keep using the term patriarchal oppression in the context in which is used, and you will still understand the passage. The body is not viewed as a tool of patriarchal exploitation, but rather an abstraction isolated from socio-economic relations of its own. So there cannot be patriarchal oppression of the body or exploitation of the body, because the body is not a tool of patriarchal exploitation. It's an abstract concept. Understood? This analysis of power, now this is the author's view. This is the lucid feminism's analysis of power, is clearly simplistic, ahistorical, which describes rather than explains the established form of coercion and shows no attempt to change the exploitative social arrangements. He says this theory, emancipation is not necessary because power is diffused. So emancipation, revolution, nothing is working. Patriarchal oppression also you can't do anything because power is diffused. Author says this is simplistic. Simplistic means impractical. Simplistic is different from simple, remember. Why? It just describes the state of things. It doesn't tell you how to bring about a change, right? That's what the author says. Because of this problem, it bears a chance for radical feminism to enhance its strengths by collaborating with Marxism to show that So when lucid feminism does this negative point about lucid feminism, that it's not telling us how to change, it's just describing the situation that you can't have patriarchal, you can't have a revolution. It's not really bringing any solution to the table. This gives radical feminism a chance to strengthen itself by collaborating with Marxism. So it gives radical feminism a chance to collaborate with Marxism, the theory of Marxism, by showing that sexual oppression is the result of the division of labor. There is division of labor in society, and sexual oppression of women is a result of that division of labor. And division of labor is historically determined by coercive social relations, ideologically constructed gender differences. How did division of labor happen in society? Because of coercive social relations and gender differences. There was division of labor. Men got the better jobs and women were given the menial ones. This division of labor, therefore, sexual oppression is the result of this division of labor in society. Got it? Labor in this case would mean the human activity of transforming nature involved in the reproduction of human life itself. Writing from a socialist feminist perspective, socialist, Marxist socialism, socialist feminist perspective, the first author that we have that he has given is, who was the one given in the first paragraph? Teresa Ebert, right? Teresa Ebert, lucid feminism. If there is a match, the following question on it. Second, socialist feminist perspective, Barbara Enrich. So the first woman talked about, Teresa Ebert talked about lucid feminism, which according to the author is simplistic. The negatives, the flaws of lucid feminism can be used by radical feminism to work with Marxism. Socialist feminist perspective, Marxist feminist perspective, Barbara Enrich, the second author. And she shows that two forms of oppression, capitalist and patriarchal. There are two forms of oppression in society, capitalist oppression and patriarchal oppression. And they interact when analyzed in the historical context. So you have an interaction between these two forms of oppression. Marxism would help radical feminism depart from its transfixion with male supremacy and its simplistic view of capitalism as one of its expressions. So Marxism would help radical feminism to move away from this transfixion with male supremacy, from its just fixing its ideas on male supremacy and saying capitalism is nothing but a form of male supremacy and patriarchal oppression. It says Marxism will help radical feminism to move away from this. And what will it do? Mechanical Marxists with their economic determination could also expand their comprehension of class to include atomization and exploitation of women. Mechanical Marxists, he's calling some other sect of Marxists, they can show, what will they show? That class includes atomization and exploitation of women. We talk of class in terms of economic or social classes. We also can include women as part of that, as the exploited class. Now, in short, so now, whatever we understood or didn't understand of this paragraph is okay. Here is what you should understand. The theory of historical materialism used by Marxists has a potential to be applied in feminism to explain the division of labor, to explain the development of division within family, state, economy, and their interplay. Fantastic. Now, I didn't understand anything of the previous paragraph. It's fine. What did Barbara Enrich? She wrote from a Marxist feminism, socialist feministic viewpoint. Here at the end, the author says the theory of historical materialism has a potential. It has a potential to be applied to feminism. How? It will show the development of divisions within family, state, economy, and their interplay. And obviously, from the feministic point of view, explain how this has adversely affected women. At this juncture, it is worth mentioning an influential radical feminist, Shulamit Firestone. So we had Teresa Ebert, we have Barbara Enrich, right? What was the name? And then we have Firestone. Firestone is an influential radical feminist. So her views we will now read. She brings Marxist methodology into radical feminism. Fantastic. He was talking about the possibility of Marxist materialism helping feminism. Then he gives the example of Firestone, who actually uses Marxist methodology in feminism. Now you are coming to the part of how Marxism has been used to promote radical feminism. First, she agrees with Engels. Marx and Engels are the two main proponents of Marxism, of socialism and all those theories. She agrees with Engels that the sexual oppression organized was organized in the first division of labor. So when society had its division of labor, sexual oppression originated. In that first act of division of labor, sexual oppression developed. Although the technical advances can no longer justify the continuation of the oppression, the consolidated power of the ruling class, in this case men, finds new means of coercion. So in modern technological advancement, this division of labor has not really been justified, or you can't justify it in the face of technology. Everybody is doing all kinds of work, but the power of the ruling class, the power of the men, makes sure that some form of coercion and oppression continues on women. So one, she used the idea of Marxist methodology to show that oppression of sexual oppression started with the first division of labor. Second, she borrows Marxist solutions and applies them in her theory. Since procreation is at the origin of dualism, Firestone promotes the revolt of women as the underclass and the seizure of control of reproduction. She says women should revolt, should also have control of reproduction when they want to give birth and things like that. That's an example. Her account culminates in the statement that unless Marxism transforms the most fundamental form of social organization, that is the source of psychological, economic and political oppression. Which one is that? The most fundamental form of social organization, which is the source of all oppression, all kinds, that is the biological family. So unless Marxism transforms the nature of the family, exploitation in society will never be eliminated. Clear? We've understood the passage to the best of our knowledge. This is all you need to do. When you read it in this way. Whatever you understand, process it, say it 2-3 times this way, and then come back. Let's read the questions now. Quickly answer them. Question 11. From the passage, it can be inferred that all of the following are true about Firestone's feminist views, except that Firestone. So again, we remember Firestone was the third lady mentioned. Teresa Ebert, Barbara Enrich, and then Firestone. So Firestone is the third lady who is a radical feminist who used Marxist theory, Marxist ideology, and the one who talked about family being the main source of social organization and the main source of exploitation of all kinds. Except, so which one would Firestone not agree with? Is of the opinion that the initial division of labor gave rise to oppression of women. Yes, she used Marxist, she agrees with Engel's theory to say that social oppression started with the first division of labor. Yes. Feels that continued oppression of women is no longer justifiable. Why? Because of technical advancements. But the people in power continue to have other forms of coercion. Therefore, she agrees that continuous oppression of women is no longer justifiable. Disagrees with Marxism on the fundamental form of social organization. Yes, she says society based on division of labor, yes, that caused social oppression. But the fundamental form of social organization, according to her, is family. Therefore, C also is there. What is not the view of Firestone, does not employ Marxist solutions in her theory. She employs it. And therefore, that is the wrong answer.